You know, in the 100 class, I actually go through the process of talking about the smartphones and everything that's happened with them and how I had a smartphone way before other people used them. And I could install applications on them and I could get around quite well. And so when the iPhone came out and then the App Store came out, it was kind of like, come on, guys, why do we really need this? And I really didn't understand the point at the time that people need things to be as simple as possible. And that even though I didn't have a problem installing things on my smartphone, other people do. And then there was also another issue that these stores helped out with. When we look back historically, or when they finally will look back historically, and they say, what is the greatest contribution that Apple made in their existence, say they disappeared? You know, most of the time these days would be saying popularizing the graphical user interface. But to me, that's pretty small because the honest truth is the graphical user interface was the way it was going to go. And yes, we mentioned them because they popularized it, but it would have been somebody else. However, the app stores is something huge. They basically came out and understood that things were getting so crazy with security that moving to this mobile scenario was an opportunity to make a break from the past and the problems that occurred in the past. So you got these legacy OSs, that's what I call them, Mac OS, Windows, Linux. Those are all, to me, legacy operating systems, while Android and iOS are the new operating systems. And Android and iOS have a different approach to how you put applications on, and it frustrates people, and they get really upset about it, especially tech people. But you have to understand what they're trying to do. So when we look at this App Store stuff that I have on the screen, the biggest thing that is happening with app stores, because Microsoft has one built into Windows now, is here's a reliable place to get an application that they have verified and checked with us. And we know it works and it won't have viruses. Now, I know you can't quite say that with the Android store, but the others you can say that about. You can say, hey, this has really gone through some rigorous testing to make sure you're safe. When I switched off of Mac, off of Windows to Mac, one of the biggest reason I told you in the other videos was to do video stuff, to do stuff with pictures and things. Well, there was another thing happening at the time. At that particular time, the internet was young, and I don't mean like really young, like it was in the 90s, but it was getting there, and you had to use Adobe products. So there was Macromedia and Flash and these different things, and Shockwave you had to use, and those applications were screwing up your computer left and right. Of course, it didn't matter. The fact that your Windows wouldn't work was the problem, even though it was these other applications that were messing with it. Now, I knew that as a tech person. Most people did not know that. They just were like, Windows sucks. And I was like, no, Adobe sucks, and they're killing your Windows. And so that was another part of it. I mean, I'm not even joking. You get an Adobe update now, the internet won't work. It was ridiculous. It was awful. And that was the life of somebody that was on Windows. That's the way you existed. You knew that your computer was going to break in a couple of weeks and you'd have to fix it. You'd have to do something about it. And then, of course, when they started making these phones and they're like, hey, let's not do that. Let's force them to go to a store to get their stuff where we've already verified it all, where we know that it works because they had to meet up to these standards to make it work. Is there a ton of problems with stores? Yeah, there's some political issues there, definitely. But that is a huge reason why your phone does not crash like your Windows machine used to. So app stores are very, very important. And I try to teach people constantly, hey, you got Windows, go to the Windows App Store on Windows before you decide to just go out someplace. Because how many old people will type in, I need to download Chrome, and then they end up on the wrong site downloading a hacked version of Chrome, right? That kind of stuff happens. Just go to the Microsoft Store, type in Chrome, download it from there. You'll be safe, right? Now, yeah, somebody could hack it and all that, but very difficult, much more difficult. The other thing is to be able to re-download I hate the fact that our society is tracking us so much. But one of the advantages is if you've downloaded an app from that store, it'll have that you downloaded it. And so it's very easy for a person to go and say, oh, you know, I had to reset my phone or whatever, and I'm going to go download these apps. Yeah, they're there. They're part of your history. You can just download them. You don't have to try to remember some login that had to do with it off of some website, blah, blah, blah. Bug fixes are just, they happen so much quicker, and they're just done, and you have more security and more stability through that. It's awesome. So common app stores, Apple has one, and yes, they're complained about a lot because they are very restrictive. And again, some of that is political and sucks, and I don't agree with them, and terrible as far as the politics go. We're not going to let this on because that'll get into some Nintendo stuff from 1984. So you can't do that. I really hate that kind of thing, but I love the advantages of the fact that my phone doesn't crash, and I know who's snooping on me and who's not. That's a good thing to know. Of course, Amazon has their app store because they actually, it was interesting. The iPad comes out and they're like, that's just like a media consumption device. People will read books on it and they'll watch videos on it, and that's what they'll do. And of course, the iPad ended up being this massive thing that was actually replacing a lot of desktop computers because it did a lot. But Amazon got the great idea of, let's make one of those. We'll make a cheaper version, and that's really just for consumption. That's all it's for. We don't actually think you're going to take it to work. We'll just make it so you can just download games and music and TV shows, right? So Amazon's got one, and then of course Google Play, they've got one, and yes, they do get in trouble, but I'm glad they have one. Again, they try to balance that super strict and stringent over here at Apple, and we're not strict and stringent, but at the same time, they don't employ as many people getting their hands on this stuff to make sure that it's safe. And there's often apps that are hacked, and you have one and that kind of thing. And then Microsoft Store, as I said, it's right there in the system. You know, if you have an Xbox, it's right in the system. But yeah, when Windows 10 came out, here's the Microsoft Store. Go to it, download stuff off of there. There's tons of free stuff that's on there. It's a good way to manage that and know that the stuff has been patched and it's working, instead of just going out on the internet and getting the stuff from wherever. That's the biggest problem. Anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit about the app stores, kind of focus your attention on the app stores and the fact that it is revolutionary and has changed things fundamentally and has made our systems more secure and more stable by using them.